A lot of people in today's day and age just simply can't find the time to write, or at least they have that notion in their mind of like, between work and family and meetings, who has time to sit down and actually begin writing? So that's one aspect of finding somebody to help you out with it, to help you with, not only time management, but also kind of filling in the gaps when you're unable to yourself. So, that's a huge hurdle that a lot of people are able to resolve by having an angel writer.
All right, possibility seekers, we're getting right into it today. That's it. No preamble, no intros. Here's a statistic that's going to blow your mind. Out of the people who have a bucket list, 80% of them have writing a book on their bucket list. Yikes. Now ask me how many people actually follow through. Less than 3%. And that's why we brought in our guest today, Danielle Hutchinson. She's here to talk about how, who, where, why. Write your stories, write your books, get them published, get out in the world, do that thing. Hello, Danielle. How are you?
Hey, Monique, it's great to see you again. Thank you for having me onto your show. I'm really excited to dive into this whole problem here. You're right. I mean, there's so many people out there who want to write a book, but never get it finished. So I'm here to answer all your questions and speak a little bit about the ghostwriting world.
Oh, yeah. So first things first, what people should know is that you do things all around the process of writing a book. So if somebody has no idea how to write, you can ghostwrite. If somebody has no idea how to tell a story, you can help them craft it. If somebody has no idea how to get it to market, you can help them. So what are you hearing most about when people come to you, or when you discover people who have this, I want to write a book thing? What are you finding?
Yeah, well, first off, a lot of people in today's day and age just simply can't find the time to write, or at least they have that notion in their mind of like, between work and family and meetings, who has time to sit down and actually begin writing? So that's one aspect of finding somebody to help you out with it, to help you with, not only time management, but also kind of filling in the gaps when you're unable to yourself. So, that's a huge hurdle that a lot of people are able to resolve by having an angel writer. But in addition to that, there's the aspect of picking the right topic to, not just something that you're interested in and passionate about, but a topic that's going to solve problems and resonate with readers as well as a huge thing that, people struggle with finding. And, again, that's another reason why having a team behind your back and guiding you can help solve those.
Yeah. So tell me, what's the process? So I say I'm an executive. Do you work mostly with women, men, both?
Yeah, I'd say it's a fair range of a good mix of both, and very diverse to all over the world. So
We'll talk about that in a sec. So mostly, what's your favorite? Fiction, nonfictions?
My favorite, I would say, I mean, it's always fun to sit down and write just like a steamy romance book and just like have fun with it. But no, I'd say the most books I write are nonfiction. The ones that are about business strategies, new medical practices. It's the kind of things that people need. It's actually like to cozy up with a good cozy read. It's I do find it more frequently to be finding myself writing those nonfiction pieces.
Yeah. So when somebody comes to you, they say, "Okay, how does it start? Do you sit with me and you ask me a bunch of questions? Like, what's the intake look like for an average executive who has no idea how to write a book, like I did once upon a time?"
Yeah, well, fortunately at Offers on Mission, we do offer consultations. So you can, kind of hop right in with us and, have a call with us, and we can help you kind of brainstorm and figure out exactly what it is you want to write. As I mentioned before, a lot of people might have an idea for a book, but they don't necessarily, know the right way to structure it or to get it across. So we help you with that. We sit down, you're allowed to kind of come up with an outline with us, and in terms of the actual process, I mean, it really depends on how much you want to be involved in the process itself as too. So, for example, I have a lot of clients who come to me on a weekly basis, and we just get on a Zoom call and we talk chapter by chapter. Or there's other people who just want to do it asynchronous, so they send me a couple bullet points for their chapter, and I write with them. So it's really just hands on, and the experience could be however it is that works best for you and your lifestyle.
And then you get their voice. That to me is the best parameter or indicator, I should say, of a successful ghostwriter when you really capture the person's voice? How do you do that?
Yeah, well, I always like to say, you need to know your clients. So that's the benefit of working with an angel writer is that, you get to know them. You sit with them on those weekly calls, or if they're sending you voice memos weekly, you're analyzing what they're saying. You're picking up on what's exciting them based on how they're talking about it. And by doing that, you know what matters to them, and you're able to write those phrases and passages exactly how they would say it. Another element of it is that the clients are able to review the passages. And so if it doesn't sound like them, they could just say, hey, you know what? I don't want this in the book. Let's fix it up this way. This is how I would better phrase that. So it's collaborative. By working with the client, you get to know them better, you know their voice, and by that you're able to match their style.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, if you're a good I would imagine if you're good at what you do, you're good at getting that from the client. Yeah? What are you finding that business executives get stuck on? Where do they get stuck?
I would say they probably get stuck in, well, one, making their writing accessible to the general audience. I have a lot of people come to me with just jargon in their industry that, any typical person walking up off the street, picking up the book will have no idea what you're talking about. So, and yeah, I have this one client who's a doctor, and he always speaking in these medical terms, talking about medicine and these long strains of letters that no one can pronounce. So it's really funny, but by working with somebody, you're able to kind of bounce it off of them, and I always help people kind of make it more simple or explain the terms. Make sure like you have a glossary for those vocabulary words that no one knows about, and making sure that anybody can understand your message is kind of the reason why you want to write the book in the first place, right?
Yeah, presumably to demystify the topic. And so is it true that would say that most people should write at a 7th or 8th grade reading level in order to be successful?
I mean, maybe, maybe not. I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily the reading level, but making sure that it's clear, right? Like you can still use those terms, just make sure that you're defining them in advance, right? Like if a chapter's about a certain medical topic, going back to that one example, define the topic in the beginning, give a few examples, and then that's when you go in depth about more detail once you play that groundwork, right? So it doesn't just have to be in simple, child words, but make it accessible, like open the door for the reader.
So how do I know if my angel writer, my ghost writer is a fit for me? What are the kinds of things you want people to ask you because you are the one interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you?
Yeah, I mean, to make sure that you have the right person telling your story, you need to ensure that they get your message. Whether or not they completely agree with what you might be saying, you need to know that they understand you. So you need to ask them questions like, have you ever had this experience? What would you say, sort of? And they don't necessarily have to be aligned with you, but you need to check their understanding to make sure that you're on point. I've had a lot of times where I'm working with a client and I might kind of get the point of a paragraph or a chapter not quite aligned just because we're not on the same page. That's why it's important to make sure you are always double check. And also to ensure, of course, time and schedule is also a thing. If you're working with somebody who's just overloaded with other clients, your book's not going to have as good quality. So making sure that you can have a set schedule with this person and ensuring that, you're both have the same vision in terms of turnaround times and scheduling.
How long do you think? I mean, I know it depends, and I know that's probably the answer, but a ballpark idea, if somebody has ideas and they have content in their heads and you need to surgically remove it from their heads and put it on paper and get it out there in the world, what is a safe time frame that you would tell people it would take?
I agree with you that it does vary depending on somebody's scheduling and needs. But a time frame, I would say about 6 months, just because the writing process might only be a couple of those months, but then you also have to factor in the editing and the formatting, the marketing aspects. But yeah, I mean, I've written a book in a week for a client, for example. So really, it does vary. I mean, I had somebody who reached out to me. I was literally at ShopRite, just shopping, and then they called me up and they were like, I need a book by next week for this presentation. I'm just like, okay. No problem. They of course worked with a higher fee for the turnaround time, but it's doable. It's something if two people are committed to making it happen, you're able to, and that's why you need to ensure that your enjoyer is aligned with your turnaround times and scheduling as well.
I have to be curious and ask you what the topic of that book was. Have to.
Funny enough, it's gonna sound slightly silly, but this it was more of a he was imagining himself as a prophet, trying to relay some religious aspects to it.
That's hysterical. That's great. So you really do write. You write like steamy romance novels to prophets to doctors, you're doing work for all sorts of people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, steam elements to the more practical things, the more religious aspects as well, and also just everywhere in between poetry, children's books. I guess that's sort of one thing that if you're looking to become a ghostwriter yourself, just having that versatility and being able to dive into whatever project a client needs.
I actually want to unpack your journey from being a teacher to being a ghostwriter. And then I want to unpack your journey of being this global citizen of the world and traveling the world over. I'm passionate about that. So I'm always big on talking about the pivots that women make as a result of their choices. Anything is possible with intention, playing, and action. You know it. You've heard me say it. So tell me about your intention, playing, and action. What was the pivot for you? You started as a teacher, and then I'll shut up.
So yeah, I mean, I started as a teacher, and I still do teach, believe it or not. I kind of balance, this amazing world of writing and editing, and then by day I go and hang out with the kids in the classroom, and then by night I'm writing books. So it's a good balance, and I like doing it. Only because it's just another little way to get out of the house, really, at this point. Just because I hate to joke about that, but it is true. I'm sitting here all cozy in my couch, and I look around my work clothes, and I go hang out with my students. But um, no, the turning point, I guess, came when, I just realized I've been doing this for a while. What more is there, right? So as a child, I always loved reading and writing and editing. Started dabbling on just freelancing for platforms on Upwork, actually. And, for anybody else looking to get involved in this sort of business, it really just started with those simple, like $15 projects I was doing, just these silly little things. Then you build up your profile. I ended up being one of the top talents on a website. And then from there, Authors on Mission kind of found me. And here I am today and I'm able to, ghostwrite and edit and podcasts and YouTube videos, all the whole nine. So I guess that's kind of a journey.
That is a heck of a journey. And so what has that done for you in your work-life integration? Because you know that I feel strongly about integration versus balance.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to balance, and it is an element of time management and all that. But I'm fortunate enough to have a situation in my home life where my boyfriend's also at home with me, where it's kind of a team element here. He helps answer messages, and I'm working with the actual arts of the project itself. So, and that way, I'm able to have that work life balance because by working, I'm also enjoying my everyday life too. I literally go home. I'm so excited to get back to my computer and keep writing those books. You know what I mean? So, in terms of balancing, it's not really work if you're loving what you're doing.
Well said, Danielle Hutchinson. That's how I feel as well. That's exactly how I feel. And so, question, you told me you traveled around the world twice. I want to hear all about that.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned before that I'm fortunate enough to be in a situation where, I'm kind of just a team effort with my boyfriend and we have a great system going on. So that allows us also to be flexible with our work hours and, the location where we work. So yeah, I mean, the last 2 summers, we just kind of got our backpacks. I threw my 2 computers in there along with my clothes for the next 32 days. And then we just bounced around the place. It was a blast. I highly recommend it to anybody, especially if you're trying to get in. If you enjoy writing, there's no better way to be inspired by changing up a location. I mean, anybody listening today, you can head to your local park or Starbucks. It does, it's very similar effect of just changing a scenario. But, I was fortunate enough to kind of just go all around the world the last 2 summers.
Tell me where you were last in the last 5 years. Tell us where you've been.
Just last summer, we kind of I here in New Jersey. So we went from New Jersey just to Rome, Greece, and then from there we went. I believe it was Thailand and then Dubai, and then after that South Korea, Japan, back to Cali, and back home. So kind of just a little loop de loop around the place.
In 30 days? You did that in 30 days?
33 to be exact, I believe. I mean, you stay in a city for a couple of days, you spend one day exploring, one day writing, and then the next is just, up for grabs. It was kind of it's just an amazing thing to do. Met a lot of cool people, was able to network a lot too, because a lot of people have a story to share. So it's just an all around an amazing experience. So I guess from that, the advice I would offer to anybody listening is, get out there and, maybe your job might allow that flexibility. But, if you find a way to make it happen, it's well worth the value.
I think did we talk about this with did I talk about this with you that I go abroad once a year to a different location and live like a local? Going into a different culture for me is probably the best way to do an attitude and latitude shift. And so if you can experience a different way of living and a different way of being and a different way of eating and all of that, then I think it has no other choice than to impact you as a human.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And it not only inspires you, but it improves the quality of the work you're doing too. Because when you're loving what you're doing and where you're doing it, I mean, the output is just incredibly more. You know what I mean? It just, it's well worth it, I guess, to say that again.
I think that's probably why I really enjoyed the book writing process because I was in Paris when I wrote most of my book, and this gave me such joy, and I was at like you, I was working on it at night or in the morning when my team was sleeping, and nobody was bugging me, and I didn't have to answer any phones or be on any meetings or do any of that, and so I just got this uninterrupted time, and I just felt like words poured out of my body.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's nothing like just waking up kind of like when the sun's just rising, getting that coffee, stepping out of whatever hotel room I'm in and next thing on the balcony or wherever, and then just getting down to business. It's actually funny because I think we were in Santorini, in this one place, and every day I would sit in kind of like the same spot by the pool and type. And there was one point at like that, like some of the guests began to kind of like joke around. I was like, that girl with her computer by the pool, like it's kind of me get into that routine. It's just really funny. But no, I agree with completely. It's an amazing technique, just changing your perspective. And like I mentioned before, for anybody listening, even if you can't travel to all these like cool places, just change your setting a bit, I mean, maybe you're sitting in the same room with just that same window, that same painting. Switching it up is just a great way to open your minds a little bit and open the doors to creativity.
Totally. So when you meet these new people, you're in communities. How do you feel about building and being in community with other writers and other content producers? How do you
Yeah, I mean, it's actually really awesome, and podcasting for one is an amazing way to make those connections. I mean, that's how you and I met, for example. And not the only one I've made great connections with because people want to share their expertise and their stories and their writing, and the more you engage with them, you begin to realize, hey, this person can do this for me, or we have a great partnership. We both are in the same field, and then from there the possibilities just are endless. It's the same way it works in any other industry. You're making those connections. And it's funny because when I first started writing, and I guess anybody else would assume you think that authors are a competition. In a way they are, right? Because, only a certain amount of people can have these bestseller books, but they're not because you're learning from them to work together, you're promoting each other, you gotta have each other's backs. It's just an amazing way to think about it. So I've rarely been experiencing that lately too.
Yeah, no, I've never thought about that in that way because the likelihood of that person writing on my topic is very slim, or me writing on their topic is slim. And their journey is different, and their life is different, and their experiences are different. So I can't even if it was on the same topic, I would imagine, at least from my perspective, there's a very slim chance that we would be writing it in the same way.
Yeah, no, I understand what you mean by that for sure. I guess like, if you put up like Nora Roberts against like Danielle Steele, like it's, two romance novels, but maybe they're it's completely different, stories in general. So I understand what you mean by that.
Yeah. So tell me more about the supportive professional network of authors on a mission.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely, like I mentioned before, it's always good to have a team around you, that community. And so, you can just write your book on your own. You can literally just sit down, type something up, like have ChatGPT spit out a book for you, and then you can plaster it onto Amazon and boom, it's out there. You wrote it, but is it going to be successful? Is it a good read? Does it have the target audience that you're looking for, right? So that's why the team is there to help you make sure that all those elements are in place so that you can have success at the end of the day. So yeah, I mean that's where it all comes into play. You have not only your angel writer if you're writing the book, but also your editing staff, your author strategist who helps you make sure that your ideas are aligned with a niche and an audience to be filled. And yeah, so those are all just amazing ways that a team can help back you up.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what is it that you want people to know that you don't think people know about writing books?
About writing books in general is that, it's not as difficult as you might imagine. It is a time commitment. It does require a lot of creativity and thought into it, but it's not something to be frightened of. It's something to just, get out there, please start doing. And when you have the right team with you, like Offers on Mission, the possibilities are endless because we can support you every step of the way, regardless of whatever your need might be.
Right, exactly. What is something that you would say to your 20-year-old self if you had an opportunity to tell her to talk to her?
Well, my 20-year-old self, I would say, maybe get out of that college dorm a little bit and go out and explore a bit or something along those lines. That's kind of where I was back when I was 20, but more so just like, don't stay in one place is what I'm trying to say, right? Keep improving yourself because, I was a teacher, I was happy with it, but as soon as I began exploring and improving, here I am today, and I get to talk to amazing people every day and learn new things from writing the books. So, whole new world of possibilities has opened up, literally.
Gotta love that use of possibilities, don't we? And so if you all right, so fast forward because you're a young person, but let's assume that you're 50 years old. What is it that you want to have had done by the time you're 50?
Oh, I mean, I've got big dreams and plans. I mean, personally, I mean, you don't stop at any point, kind of drawing back on what I mentioned before about don't stay in one place. So even though I'm loving writing and editing now, there's more to be found. I mean, once you begin to build a living from, having your writing business, why stop there? There's properties to be bought. There's, more and more enterprises to enter, right? So, by that point, I hope to have just a bunch more under my belt.
Terrific. So what is it you want? Do you want to leave the audience with any other thoughts or hacks or tips or ideas based on your experiences?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to write a book, you just have to get started. Again, like I mentioned before, there's nothing to be afraid of, especially if you have a team behind your back. Just go out, reach out to anybody, Offers on Mission, for example, and we can help you kind of cultivate those ideas and get it onto the page because there's no better way to share your expertise than to have it in form of a written book that you can hand to somebody and say, this is my book. My name is right on my cover. It's a piece of pride. It's the legacy. It's something that's going to be there way after you've left this earth that people can still read and learn from. So that's my piece of advice. Just don't be afraid. Just go for it. Get started.
Yeah, jump off the bridge. Don't worry about how much water is under it. Well, thank you very much, Danielle. That was great. A good summary and exercise for all of us future authors and all those people who have bucket lists that say write a book on them. Thank you, possibility seekers. Make it a great day and think about writing that book that you have on your bucket list. Why not? Thank you so much for listening to Possibilities with Monique de Maio, where we unpack life as a female mover and shaker. If you like the show, please consider liking it or better still, subscribing to it and leaving us a rating. It truly does help. Also, you can pick up my book, The 7 Secrets to Creating a Life You Love, a practical guide for women in leadership. You can find the book, other episodes of this podcast, and how to stay in touch at moniquedemaio.com. DEMAIO. I look forward to seeing you again soon. With gratitude, Monique.